Hello, my name is Kiana Ayers. I'm a registered nurse and an international board certified lactation consultant. And today we're going to get an overall view about breastfeeding. First, we're going to talk about the benefits of breastfeeding. So some of the benefits of breastfeeding for baby include, and I love props because props help you to see this in your own mind. So here is the baby's brain. And some of the benefits for breastfeeding for the baby's brain is that breast milk is shown to increase the IQ. Now, how does that work? Human milk is for human babies. So it has special fats that are going to grow the brain. And so we never know what type of brain our baby is going to have. We never know if they're going to be super smart because the DNA they were given is they just, you picked a great partner and both of you are very smart. We never know if they're going to be average. We never know if they may need a little help. So I always tell moms to protect your baby and to give your baby the best possible chance to grow their brain to its full potential. Human milk is what you want to give them. So that's one benefit for baby. Another benefit for baby, and here's the example I'm going to use for that one. This is a bear and it's holding a little baby bear. And one thing we all know is that if we see a baby bear, we're going to kind of get out of the way because we know that the mama bear is not far behind. What this is exemplifying or showing us is an example of oxytocin. So that is another name for a hormone that we produce when we breastfeed. We call it the love hormone, and it helps us to bond with our babies. One thing I always say in my classes, not all of our pregnancies were planned. Not all of our experiences are that we're having a baby that we planned for. It's coming into a loving environment with a family. Maybe not, maybe so. But sometimes when that's not the case, it's a little bit harder to fall in love with the baby. Well, no need to worry. Oxytocin is going to help you have that bond with your baby, whether you wanted it or not, which is really cool. Your baby is going to get a hug every time you breastfeed them, which is different than what you can do with a bottle. You can take a bottle and you can prop it up. You can give that baby to grandma. You can send that baby to other people, and then they end up bonding with that baby, and it interferes with your bonding. So one thing that oxytocin does is it helps to ensure that you really form that bond with your baby, which is very, very important for your future parenting experience. So that's another benefit to breastfeeding. Another benefit for breastfeeding is this. And no, this is not real. It's a fake $100 bill. But this is just showing you the cost savings of breastfeeding. If any of you have priced formula, it is super expensive. Even if you have WIC, you're going to run out of month before you run out of, you're going to run out of WIC before you run out of month, I should say. Because WIC does not cover all of the formula that your baby will need. So it's important to save money. You're going to breastfeed because breastfeeding is free 99, like I like to say. Okay, another benefit of breastfeeding, and I'm holding up this other item. This is a thermometer. And so we use thermometers when people are sick. And so breastfeeding can help to protect your baby from certain illnesses. And there are 3 Cochrane-reviewed, researched things that breastfed babies have a decreased risk of. One of them is ear infections. The second is upper respiratory infections. And the third is stomach upset, or what we call gastroenteritis. And just what that means is your baby's going to have a less chance of constipation, diarrhea, upset stomach. Your baby will also have a decreased risk of RSV, which is respiratory syncytial virus. In this age of coronavirus, we have been currently, the latest research is saying that it is safe to breastfeed your baby even if you are positive for coronavirus. So you'll continue to breastfeed, but we know that breast milk does have a certain protective factor against certain upper respiratory infections. So that's good to know as we try to all stay safe in this time that we're in. And the other thing is bacterial ear infection. So your baby is going to have a decreased risk of those 3 things. There are many, many more. It's just I like to bring up the ones that are Cochrane reviewed. The other thing is that your baby will get your antibodies. So there's something that your breast has. Oh, here it is. And this is colostrum. And so I like to show you this on the spoon because then you can see just how much it is. And this is what we call liquid gold. Your body begins to produce this colostrum when you are 27 weeks pregnant. So when baby comes, baby's first food is already ready inside your breast. You might leak this colostrum. It's okay if you don't. It doesn't have a bearing on how much milk you'll produce later. But this colostrum is full of antibodies from things that you've been exposed to, things that you have immunity to. We like to call this baby's first immunization. So when you feed your baby for the first time from your breast, you're already coating their stomach, walling off their stomach, and protecting them and giving them immunity, which is really cool. It's not something that you can get from formula. So not all of the benefits of breastfeeding are for baby. Some of the benefits are also for you. So here, I'll hold this up so you can see. And I know that's small, but some of you will be able to see that. It is the breast cancer pin. And so this benefit, it shows you that breastfeeding will decrease your risk of breast cancer. And increase. So every time you breastfeed, if you breastfed the first time for 6 months, the next time for 1 year, the next time for 2 years, now you've got 3 and almost 3 years and a half or more of a decreased risk, and your risk is going to get lower and lower as you continue to breastfeed. So that's really interesting. I got another one for you. Okay. Ready? Okay. I got another one for you moms that you guys are really going to like. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to pull it and then I'm going to pull it back. You guys like to call that snap back. So what this does is this shows you that breastfeeding will make your uterus contract. It's called involution. It just means that within 4 weeks, your uterus is going to go back down to its pre-pregnancy state as opposed to 9 weeks if you were formula feeding. And you also burn upon an average about 500 calories per day by breastfeeding. So it's like as your body's making milk, it's also burning calories. So lots of people love to hear that breastfeeding can help them lose weight a little bit quicker. So those are some of the breastfeeding benefits for both you and for baby. If you want to learn a little bit more, you could go and check out our section just about benefits of breastfeeding. Now we'll discuss common barriers to breastfeeding. Some of the most common barriers, well, one of the biggest ones I should say, is pain. And we're going to talk about pain. So I want you to remember that. I've said this. If you don't remember anything else that we talk about, breastfeeding should not hurt. It is never okay for breastfeeding to be painful. No matter what you've heard, you're not supposed to just deal with the pain and it goes away. That should never happen to you. Now, soreness is different, and breastfeeding can be sore in the beginning just because no one has ever been on your breast like that for that amount of time. So soreness is okay, but pain is never okay. So let's talk about that a minute. So I'm going to use Elmo because Elmo's got a big wide mouth that I can open, and I'm going to show you your breast. Most times when you're having pain with breastfeeding, this is what's happening. You've got a baby and she wants to open her mouth about that big, because that's what they do. And then she wants to get on the edge of your nipple, just like that. And then she wants to start sucking, right? Notice that you can still see so much of the areola, which is the dark part around your nipple, and she's sucking away. So she's not latched properly. So one of the biggest reasons why you're having pain is that the nipple is not far back in the baby's mouth enough. So I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to open up her mouth and I'm going to really latch her. And so you see that? Now I know that everybody's nipple doesn't look like this, so don't mind that. But what I'm showing you is that with a good wide open mouth latch with the nipple far back in baby's mouth, there should not be pain. So one of the things that I want you to remember is that you're going to hear from people, oh, I tried it and it hurt and that's why I stopped. But if you have pain with breastfeeding, we can help you to fix that. So you shouldn't tolerate it. You shouldn't let baby continue for 2 reasons especially. When baby is not latched properly, it's going to damage your nipple. So you may have scabs and bleeding all over your nipples because the nipple is hitting the hard palate, which is the hard part of the top of the baby's mouth. So we don't want that. And the second thing is when baby is not latched properly and not stimulating the areola, then we're not moving any milk. So it's going to hurt you in 2 ways. You're going to damage your nipple and it's going to mess up your milk supply. So no pain with breastfeeding. Okay. So that's number 1. Number 2, I'm not making enough milk or I don't make enough milk. So Because some of us come from generations of people that have not breastfed before, the people that support us in breastfeeding don't know enough about it. So I'll give you an example. You have your baby and your baby is doing what a normal 24-hour, 48-hour-old baby does, which is come to the breast repeatedly for this teaspoon of colostrum. Remember, this is what you have in your breast for the first 3 days after you deliver. It's a teaspoon, so it's not much. So if you only have this much colostrum, how often do you think your baby is going to come to the breast? It's going to be every hour sometimes, every hour and a half, but it's going to be pretty frequent. If you are only around people who've only formula fed, they're going to tell you that's not right. You're not making enough milk. The baby's waking up every hour and something is wrong with that. But that is totally normal newborn behavior, and your baby should be allowed access to the breast 24/7 in those first 2 weeks. There should be no reason why other people have the baby or we're taking the baby away from you. Your baby needs to be able to come to your breast as much as they need to, because the baby doesn't have much to get out and they need to do so frequently. And it really works well with the body. Here's a couple of things. This colostrum has a gentle laxative, so it will help your baby to make sure that they're moving their bowels appropriately. The second thing is that breastfed babies have a decreased risk of sudden infant death syndrome. Although the research doesn't tell us exactly why, some think that it's because the breastfed baby wakes up so much that they never go into that deep REM sleep. So we know for a fact that they're going to wake up a lot quicker because they're only getting this little teaspoon of food. So it works good for you in a couple of ways. Another barrier for moms is I'm just afraid to breastfeed in public. And there's 2 reasons for that. I don't want to show my breast or my stomach, because how do you pull up your shirt and show your stomach or your breast? Or I don't want anybody to say anything to me about breastfeeding in public. We've all seen these horror stories on the news of people approaching, people are saying you can't do that here. So one thing you should know is that anywhere that you can be with your baby, you can breastfeed your baby. You can be at a restaurant, you can be at a park, you can be at the mall. It doesn't matter where you are. If your baby's hungry, you can feed your baby and no one can tell you to leave or to cover up. Now, if you want to cover up, that's totally fine. There are so many things that you can use. There are breastfeeding tanks that only come down from the bottom. There are scarves you can wear to help you cover up if you choose to. So really practice this at home. Because one thing that you don't want to do is start pumping bottles and taking them with you when you're gone, because then you will decrease the milk supply because you're not pumping when you're away, and you'll find over time you lower your milk supply. So really practice breastfeeding in public, especially if that is something that's concerning you. Going back to work or school is also a concern for moms. The people are worried, how am I going to maintain this breastfeeding relationship when I'm away from my baby? Lots of states have a breastfeeding benefit that you can purchase, your insurance will give you a breast pump. If you have commercial insurance, that is part of the Affordable Care Act, you can request a breast pump from your insurance company. And you're going to need that so that you can use it when you're working or anytime you're away from your baby. If you can't get it through your commercial insurance, or if you have Medicaid, then add it to your registry for your baby shower, or ask for gift cards and total them all up and get a breast pump, because you're going to need it in order to be successful with going back to work or school. Talk to your employer before you leave for maternity leave. Explain to them that you're going to be breastfeeding, so you need a place and a time to pump. There are federal laws that protect you with this. So they have to not only give you a space that's not a bathroom, they also have to provide you the time. So talk to your employer about that before you leave for maternity leave. Get it all set up and worked out so that you come back with a plan. The other thing people worry about, some people, is, can I drink alcohol while I'm breastfeeding? We hear so much about not drinking alcohol while I'm pregnant, but can I drink while I'm breastfeeding? And the answer is yes, you can. You just can't breastfeed if you're drunk. So if you are feeling like if you're feeling the effects of the alcohol you drank, you're feeling a buzz, then don't breastfeed. Just pump your milk and don't dump it. We hear that phrase, pump and dump. Use it later. Use it for a milk bath, because milk baths are great for baby skin. but don't give it to your baby. But if you drank and you're not feeling any buzz and it's been an hour, 2 hours, breastfeed your baby. Another thing is smoking. So first we're going to talk about cigarettes. Can I smoke cigarettes and breastfeed? We don't want anybody to smoke cigarettes. Cigarette smoking increases your risk of decreased placental sufficiency. So meaning that your placenta when you're pregnant is not going to work as good, which is going to increase your risk for a low birth weight baby and also a preterm baby. So if you're pregnant and you're smoking, we really, really want you to quit. But you can breastfeed while you smoke. You would just need to change your clothes, make sure that you're smoking outside, not ever in a room where the baby is, and you would need to change your clothes when you got back with your baby to breastfeed. What about marijuana? So we've got some interesting research coming out about marijuana. There's research being done, especially in states where it's legal. But just remember, if you are in a state where it's illegal, they could still test you for the THC in your urine when you show up to deliver, and it's still illegal. So that's one thing. The other thing is if you're not getting it from a dispensary or you're not growing it yourself, do you really know what's in that marijuana? Would you really want to risk giving some unknown substance to your new baby? So there's interesting research that's coming out about can you do it or is it okay, or how much of it goes through the breast milk, and there's more to come on that. So just kind of do your own research about what's going to be right for you and your family. So another barrier is sometimes women feel like, oh, I don't eat healthy enough, or people tell them you don't eat good enough and you're not going to make great breast milk. Well, we want you to eat healthy, of course. If you don't eat healthy while you're pregnant and breastfeeding, you're going to feel really bad. But the good thing is that you can eat however you eat and your breast milk is still going to be great for your baby. But you may feel really bad. So when you're breastfeeding, try your best to increase your vegetables, increase your fruit, decrease your sugars, decrease your processed foods so that you can have enough nutrients to replace what you're giving your baby so that you don't feel bad. But even if your diet is not the best or you don't have access to the best foods, you can still breastfeed your baby and be feel like your baby is getting a totally healthy diet from you. So how do you prepare to have a successful breastfeeding experience? Well, you're already doing one of the best things that you can do, which is taking a prenatal breastfeeding class. But make sure you don't start at this one. Go out and do the entire series. Learn as much as you can about breastfeeding, because the more information that you take in, you're not going to retain it all, but it really will help you to have a good foundation so that you're prepared when baby is here. So take as many classes as you can. Look at the rest of this series and talk to other breastfeeding moms. Find you a breastfeeding buddy. All of those things will help you to be successful with your journey. The other thing that you can do is make sure that your support people are included on your breastfeeding journey. Invite them to classes. Share with them what you've learned. Ask them what their concerns are so that way they don't inadvertently become a barrier to you. We want them to be cheering you on and be supportive of you and know how to help you. The next thing that you should do is go out to the Office of Women's Health and download this. So it's called Your Guide to Breastfeeding. It's a totally free guide. It's got great resources here. And this way you'll have something, you could do some reading while you're pregnant. Just go read through it. And that way, reading this should prompt you to have more questions and seek additional resources. It's a free guide that you can get, and it's located on the Office of Women's Health. So you can go to www.womenshealth.gov and download this. And one other thing that you should do is have a birth plan. And that birth plan should include having as natural of a birth as you possibly can. Now, I know that everybody doesn't have that option. Some people you're going to have a C-section, but if you can prepare for it, you want to have as natural of a birth as you possibly can. That's not to say that the C-section moms or those that have complications or a birth that was not totally natural are not going to be successful with breastfeeding. You absolutely can be. It's just that if you have it within your power to keep your birth as natural as possible, that's going to make your breastfeeding experience that much easier. Now we're going to talk about a correct latch and what that looks like. So some of you will deliver at a hospital, and the only latch that a lot of people will show you is this one. So don't mind my baby. She's been through a lot. So they will show you what's called a football hold. So you'll hold baby like this and baby will be like that. And that is the only latch that you'll see. So we're going to talk about different latches. And I'm going to tell you one thing that you should do or look for with your latch, no matter how you're holding your baby, which can help you to have a correct latch. All right. So your baby, we're going to talk about 4 points of contact on your baby's face. Their nose, both cheeks, and their lips, and their chin. That was more than 4, sorry. But that's what I want you to be focused on. And this is what I want you to notice. When your baby is latched, I want to see nose dug into the top of the breast. Lots of times we worry, is my baby gonna be able to breathe? Don't worry, newborns are born with wider nose, their nares, which is the 2 sides of their nostrils, are a little bit larger and flexible so they can space them out so that they can breathe. If you have bigger breasts, it's okay to take your finger and pull back a little bit, but that nose really needs to be smushed up against that breast. Their cheeks need to be on either side of your breast. So the cheeks shouldn't be so far off. And remember, we talked earlier about how if they're latched like this, see how far away the face is from your breast? But if they're latched properly, those cheeks are making contact on either side of your breast. So nose smushed in, cheeks making contact. The last part I want you to notice is the chin. So that chin should be dug in on the underside of your breast. So no matter how you positioned your baby to breastfeed, those 4 points of contact should always be making contact with the breast. All right, so let's talk about some common latches. I'll show you. So one that we really like is laid back. I'm gonna show you this board we have. So laid back is basically like if you take that hospital bed and you lay it back and you put baby on top of you. That's a really nice breastfeeding position because it's a self-latching position and baby is more likely to get more of that areola in its mouth. So I like laid back, but laid back can be really hard if you have bigger breasts. So that's kind of hard to do with laid back. This second one, cradle, I don't want you to look at that yet. That's a big girl position. That's something you're going to do with a bigger baby and when you're more experienced with breastfeeding. So don't try that one, not yet. But you can do cross cradle. And I'll show you cross cradle and what that looks like. So cross cradle is more like this. You're taking the baby and their body is long ways across you. You got your hands like this and you're cradling your baby across your body. So that's cross cradle. This is a great position too because not only do you have control of baby's head, you also can look down and make sure those 4 contacts are making contact with your breast. So here's another one. This one is going to be football. This one is great. I'll hold it this way. This one is great for C-section moms because that foot is not going to inadvertently kick your incision. So even though I don't really love this hold, it is good if you've had a C-section, the football hold. Side lying is my ultimate favorite one because you can really, really latch deeply with side lying. And you can get your babies, a lot more of the areola can go in the baby's mouth. I love sideline. And then the last one over here is support your baby in any position. And that's why I like to show you those 4 contacts. So no matter how you're holding your baby, you want to make sure the 4 contacts of the nose, the cheeks, and the chin have contact with the breast. So how do we know if breastfeeding is going well? There are some things that your baby will do to reassure you that things are going okay. So one of the first things is that it doesn't hurt. So off the top, if you're latching and you have pain and you've looked for the 4 contacts and you've latched baby again and you've changed positions and you're still having pain, that's not normal. That should prompt you to reach out for help. So I want to let you guys know that help is not created equal. Meaning, if you ask your breastfeeding buddy for help and she's never had the situation that you have, then she may not be the best resource for you. If you ask your pediatrician and your pediatrician doesn't know anything about breastfeeding, then that pediatrician may not be the best resource for you. So WIC sometimes has people employed there called breastfeeding peer counselors. They are a great resource. They can help you to see what exactly is going on with the pain. They can listen to you, and they can also refer you for additional help if it's beyond their scope of how to help you. A resource is always an international board certified lactation consultant who can help you with more clinical breastfeeding issues. You can also get great education from a certified lactation counselor, and there are all types of different lactation counselors around. But just know that all help is not created equal. And if you go and you get help from one person and they really couldn't help you, or they tell you that they don't think something is wrong and you're still having pain, you keep going for help. Don't let someone tell you that the latch looks good. So since the latch looks good, there should be no reason for pain, because that's not a good enough answer. You have to kind of keep going until you get the answer. And I'll say it again, not all help is created equal. So make sure that you continue to reach out and get help, especially when it comes to pain. Another thing that you're going to see that could reassure you is basically, it's a basic principle. What goes in must come out. So I'm going to show you really quickly what is going to come out initially. So here is meconium. So this is an example. Oh, and these are not real. People ask me that in class. Are those real? These are fake. So this is meconium, and this is baby's first stool. It is undigested red blood cells that they've gotten from when they were inside your uterus. So the colostrum, I'll bring that up again, the one that has the gentle laxative, is going to help your baby to get the meconium out. So it works hand in hand. You should see in the beginning at least one of these day 1, 2 of these day 2, 3 of these day 3, and then they don't have any rhyme or reason. But you should get a lot of these. And do you see the amount that I have on here? So it's not going to be a little smear. It's going to be a good amount that they're going to be pooping out. If you see that, then you can be reassured that, okay, I'm getting enough. The baby's getting enough volume. All right. So you're going to see this for the first 3 days. The next thing that you're going to see by day 3, I should see green, yellow, chunky. I'm sorry, I said green and yellow, greenish brown stool. And this lets me know that your colostrum is transitioning to more mature milk, and that baby is getting enough volume. So if we see this by day 3, we're very excited. Okay, so this is what we should see by day, here they go. By day 5. This is so exciting to see yellow, chunky breastfeeding poop by day 5. This is really exciting. Do you see how much of it? So if we see this by day 5, then we know that baby's getting enough volume, your milk is transitioning appropriately, and all is well. Here's the last one that you should see ongoing. So this is just nice yellow mustardy stool that baby will have for the duration. Another thing that can reassure you is that you don't have a really fussy baby. Baby fusses when she wakes up, you feed her, she's content. She looks milk drunk. That's a term we use a lot in lactation, where the baby spits your nipple out, is totally satisfied, her body is relaxed, she'll lay down. If you see your baby doing that after the feeds, then you know that your baby was satisfied. If you have a baby that is constantly fussing, has to go from breast to breast to breast, or breastfeeds for a really long time, then that could be a sign that something is wrong, either with the latch or either with the amount of volume that you have. And that's when you know you need to call for help. Your baby should not be on the breast for an hour and still smacking the lips, bringing the hands to the mouth, and fussy because they're hungry. You should also be checking the color of the urine. Your baby should have plenty of clear urine, full diapers, because what goes in must come out. If we're having diapers where the urine is dark, then we have an issue with volume, and that's another way to know that we need to call for help. I want you to look at those signs because those are early signs. We can talk, we'll talk more in the detailed classes about things like jaundice, dehydration, but we don't ever want you to get to those places. So just basically here, we want you to call for help if we have a diaper that's not, the urine is not the right color, or we're not on schedule with the way that the stool should be looking, the different colors that I talked about earlier. But if you see all of these signs of great poop, great urine, a satisfied baby, then we have reassurance that things are going well. Of course, too, you're going to take your baby to follow up with their pediatrician visit in the first week of life. That weight check will also reassure us if things are going well. Because if the baby is dropping a lot of weight, then we know that they're not getting enough to eat and we have to adjust the volume. So what resources do you have available to you? One of the most common ones is at your local WIC office. So while you're pregnant, sign up for WIC. A lot of the WIC offices have what are called WIC breastfeeding peer counselors. If your WIC office doesn't have it, don't worry. We have additional resources for you. But most of your WIC offices will have breastfeeding peer counselors that teach breastfeeding classes and that can also support you once you deliver. And some of them will even come to your home and help you with breastfeeding. Another resource that is available to you is a resource called Reaching Our Sisters Everywhere. They focus on helping Black women with breastfeeding. And now, since there's coronavirus, they are doing their baby cafes virtually. So you could log in from anywhere. And it's a free resource. Just go out and look on their website to get you the information to connect when they hold their virtual baby cafes. And then they could provide you with breastfeeding help as well. Another resource that you have is La Leche League. So La Leche League is started in like the 60s with a group of women who wanted to come together and like reclaim breastfeeding. And so they are actually worldwide. You can find La Leche League resources worldwide. To look for your local La Leche League, just go to lalecheleague.com and then look for their resources. And it may not be a .com, but just Google La Leche League. And you'll be able to type in with your zip code or your area and find where their local groups are. So that's another free resource for you. If you want to connect with us, you can find us on Instagram at Mamas and Tatas. You can also find us through our website at www.mamasandtatas.com. My name is Kiana Ayers, registered nurse, international board certified lactation consultant with Mamas and Tatas.